this is an amazing crowd. Thank you all so much for coming. By a show of hands, how many of you received our text message on Sunday? Okay, perfect. That did the trick, it seems. So we'll try that again in the future. We're going to get things started with our treasurer's report. We have approximately $29,000 in the bank account. After the March fundraiser, that almost surpassed $32,000, but we are spending quite a bit of money right now prepping for our Vote No campaign against the Judicial Selection Amendment. That's going to be on your primary ballot this year. And actually, that transitions into my next point. We are starting our Vote No campaign the first weekend of May, Saturday, May 2nd. I don't know when the ribbon cutting for the headquarters will be, but the campaign launches Saturday, May 2nd, and it's all hands on deck, people. We need all of you, all your friends, all your family to come help us out. Canvas, knock doors, make phone calls, write postcards. We just printed 2,000 postcards to reach as many people as possible. And then we also have built a coalition with more nonpartisan organizations in this county who will talk to independents and moderate Republicans, the people who helped us in 2022 with the abortion amendment and Vote No campaign. So we got a big campaign plan, but for any of this to work, we need all of you to show up as you did today. So mark your calendars for May 2nd. And then the location is downtown on 411 Points Avenue. We haven't put out the address yet, but it is going to go on Google towards the end of the month, so that when you search like Riley County Democrats, that shows up on Google Maps. And we'll also put it on our county party website. And the hours and phone number, all that stuff will be there too. Okay. Yep. I'll circle back to the March fundraiser. So we actually collected $12,000 in donations, and then after we paid our bill, we raised $9,286.01. Thank you all to those of you who came and who donated. We really appreciate it. And like I said, that money is being spent properly as we prepare for the Vote No campaign and then to elect Democrats like the one with us here tonight. I also want to mention that we need precinct committee persons. These are the people who get out the vote in your precinct, which is typically the size of a neighborhood. You get to know the fellow Democrats in your neighborhood and help them get out to vote every single year. The filing deadline to be a PCP is June 1st. As of today, I think we have 4 people filed, but we need a lot more to compete with the Republicans. I think they have about 12 people filed right now. Yes?
One more today.
Oh, perfect. It wasn't updated. Thank you. So if you want more information about becoming a PCP, please contact me. My email is on the party's website. And then the last thing I'll mention before we turn to the main portion of our program is Little Apple Pride. This year, Little Apple Pride is on Saturday, April 25th. The county party is going to march in the parade, which is from about 12 to 12:30. And then we're also going to table at the event from about 12 to 4 p.m. We'd love to have volunteers with us. I'm sure we're all aware of the ongoing and escalating attacks against the LGBTQ community, so I think it's important that we as Democrats, we as allies, show up to show solidarity with the community. There is a Google form in the latest newsletter and also on the website for you to sign up. You can volunteer with us from 12 to 2 or 2 to 4, whatever works for your schedule. So yeah, just keep that in mind and mark your calendars. With that, are there any questions before we move into our presentation?
I got a quick question, because somebody asked me, if you're registered as an independent in the primary to vote no, you have to register if you want to vote for a candidate.
Yes.
Also in.
If you want to vote on any candidates, you got to affiliate with the Democrat or Republican, and you can declare that when you walk in the door. But if you're just there to vote on the amendment, doesn't matter your partisan affiliation. So, yeah, good question. All right, so we'll move into, I guess, are there any others? Okay. We'll move into the main portion of our program. I will start with an introduction of the candidate, and then the candidate will have the floor for about 10 to 15 minutes to talk about his campaign. And then we'll open the floor for questions from the audience, and we'll finish at 7 o'clock. So, my introduction is brief because I want to let Chris Mann tell his story. But Chris Mann is a former police officer turned attorney. He resides in Lawrence with his wife and 2 kids. In 2022, he lost the Attorney General's race against Chris Kobach by 1.6%. But after experiencing 4 years of Kobach's incompetent, self-interested leadership, and that's the politest thing I could say about him, Chris Mann is ready to kick Kobach out of public office for good in the state of Kansas. So please give a warm welcome to Chris Mann.
Perfect. Can you all hear me if I talk right here? All right, fantastic. Because I hate standing behind podiums. I had a hard time when I was an attorney standing behind podiums. I'd always sneak out, and there was one judge that didn't like that. He kept telling me I had to go back, and I kept sneaking out. We had fun. Look, I know that things are kind of heavy right now, right? We're all feeling it. The news is nonstop. It seems like it keeps building and getting faster, and it feels like politicians are all trying to compete to see who can do the most damage the fastest, right? And that would make it easy for any of us to walk away from this, to not look at politics, to not look at the news, to not come out to an event like this. It would be easy to do that because it's a lot. But I'd like to tell you a story about why I don't. So picture for me summer in Kansas. It's July. It is hot and humid. It's 2 in the morning, so it's still hot and humid. I'm wearing a polyester uniform, making it worse, and a bulletproof vest, making it even worse. I'm sitting in my car and I'm sweating in my patrol car. I had just come off a call. It was a bad call. Somebody had passed away. But as I sat there, I got another call. So I put the car in drive and I head out. This one, domestic battery in progress. I get to the house. I can hear a woman screaming. So I run into the house and there's a fight. When the fight's over, the woman is injured, but she's safe. And the attacker is in handcuffs, and my partner, who finally got there, is taking that guy to jail. Now, I tell you this story because there's some important points to it. When I get done with that call, I'm back in the car again. This time, my uniform's torn. I'm sweating more. And as I sat there, I got another call. And I put the car in drive and I head out again. Now this is why I tell you this. It's because of the choice. It's because of the choice to show up day after day, hard call after hard call. That's what true public service is. It's showing up consistently. And right now in this day, in this time, in this state, we need to understand that in our bones. I started my career in public service when I was a junior in college. I became a police officer like my dad was before me. I still had college roommates, which made things a little awkward at the beginning. But we got through that, and it was a job that I absolutely loved. Was able to help my community every day, felt like I was really making a difference. Unfortunately, that career was cut short. I was hit by a drunk driver outside the car in a car stop. He hit me at 50 miles an hour. Those injuries ended my police career, but I knew I still wanted to do something to help my community. I just didn't know what it was. I didn't know until I had the chance to go back to court. It was on a drug case. I was testifying. I was sitting up in the box. I was listening to the attorneys asking me questions. And I kid you not, this is my exact thought. Those guys don't seem all that smart. I could probably do that too. After that hearing, I went out and bought a book to start studying to become a lawyer. I wanted to be a prosecutor. I wanted to help my community. And that's what I did. I prosecuted in Wyandotte County, everything from traffic tickets to murders, then off to the state where I prosecuted white-collar criminals defrauding folks in our state. I've also been the chair of the National Board of Directors of Mothers Against Drunk Driving, touring the country, talking to victims and law enforcement, helping to pass laws that have made our roads safer. I tell you all of that because the difference between myself and my opponent It's not even subtle. That guy has never worn a badge. He's never stood toe-to-toe with violent criminals on the street or in the court. Instead, he's run for almost every office in the state, and he's run not because he wants to serve the people of Kansas, but because he wants a stage. His goal is to keep his name in the headlines and his options open. It's simply ambition without service. And we've seen exactly what that gets us. Y'all remember Winter Storm Uri back in 2021? We had a huge cold snap. Gas prices went through the roof. There were businesses, homeowners, some of you may not remember at all, businesses, homeowners, and even school districts that had to pay exorbitant gas prices, gas bills during that year. There are school districts who are still paying off their gas bills to this day. Derek Schmidt, our previous Attorney General, filed a natural gas price gouging lawsuit, and he handed that off to Kobach when he took office. Kobach dropped it without telling anyone in Kansas why. He left your $50 million on the table, never to be recovered. And he's done that again and again. When he had an opportunity to get education funding back from the federal government, he didn't stand up for the people of Kansas. When he had an opportunity to get your tax money back, tax money allocated by Congress for clean rural water, to help farmers, to get lead pipes out of schools and daycares, he didn't have the guts to stand up for the people of Kansas and get your money back. But the attorneys general that did stand up for their states, they've gotten billions of dollars back for their states. That's what we're missing by having an attorney general who has a political ideology that drives his every move. As I've gone around the state, I've talked to law enforcement and victims of consumer fraud who have tried to contact the Attorney General's office and have gotten no help. Simply unacceptable. And we all know how good Kobach's been at passing unconstitutional laws. Laws that have cost our state $1.4 million. Did you know that he paid his contempt of court fine with your tax dollars? Not only that, he kicked 30,000 eligible voters off of the voter roll with his unconstitutional law. And then he toured the country, going to small communities from Pennsylvania to Missouri to Texas to try and continue to push unconstitutional ordinances in these communities, telling them that this would fix whatever they needed fixed. And instead it cost them millions of dollars because of his priorities and his political ideology. When I'm Attorney General, we get this office back to what it's supposed to do. When a community calls and asks for help, we're going to answer the phone. We're going to say yes. We're going to help with investigations and prosecutions. We're going to attack consumer fraud, which is just getting worse. I just met with law enforcement here in town who told me that crimes and frauds against the elderly are skyrocketing. And it's only getting worse with AI and with the ability to do things that scammers weren't able to do before. We have to protect our vulnerable populations. We have to go after the scam artists. We have to make sure that we're doing what we can to protect the people of Kansas. That's where the focus of this office needs to be and where it will be under my watch. We're going to make sure that we're looking at price gouging, and we're going after folks that do that. We're going to help farmers who are paying obscene fertilizer prices, and they need to have markets open to sell their goods. We're going to make sure that that happens. And we're going to make sure that we're actually attacking problems like fentanyl. We've just lost 2,000 Kansans to overdoses in the state from fentanyl. Kobach got a grant. It was supposed to be for life-saving medication. He used just a tiny portion on the medication. and the bulk of the grant he used on advertising and self-promotion. His face on TV. I am certain those 2,000 people would rather have the medication than his face. And as he's moved this medication out to locations around the state, he's only done it when he can make a headline and get there. So he didn't send it all out at once. He's doing it one at a time so that he can be the one that's there and making the headlines. This medication should have been rushed out. That's what my administration will do. We'll put the money towards the communities, not towards advertising. It's not public service. It's a publicity stunt that he's doing. And one other issue that has come up time and again and is absolutely critical in our state, teenage suicide prevention. The number one cause of death for kids aged 10 to 17 right now is suicide. We are far above the national average. There's a division in the Attorney General's office that's set up to help with this, but it's being largely ignored. We're going to put real resources there because our kids deserve to live. I'm not running for this office to become a politician. I'm in this race because I've spent my entire life running towards a problem, and I'm not done with that yet. I still believe that public service, that true public service, the kind that shows up at 2 in the morning and doesn't expect any credit, is one of the highest callings that there is. And as I've gone around the state, I've heard from families and farmers and business owners. They want the same thing. They want a public servant. They want someone who's going to fight for them. And there's one story in particular a farmer told me that I'm going to leave you with tonight. He was telling me about his wheat plants. And he told me that one single wheat stalk can easily be knocked over in just a stiff wind. But an entire wheat field can withstand the strongest of Kansas storms. And he told me about how the roots intertwine and the stalks actually protect each other, and that's what makes it happen. And while he's telling me the science behind it, I'm thinking, man, that is a lot like Kansas. You know, any of us, me, you, if we're standing on our own, we could easily be knocked down by the storms that are here. But if we stand together in this moment, shoulder to shoulder, and if we keep standing shoulder to shoulder, we can withstand not just this storm, we can withstand any storm that comes our way. I truly believe that. I so look forward to being your next Attorney General. Thanks a bunch. All right, who's got a question? Yeah.
Hi, so my name is Kim Hutton. I'm active duty service member on Fort Riley, but I'm going to be retiring here in Kansas. So I'm sure you're aware of House Bill 2626 that the governor vetoed. It went into the override session, and it was one of the few bills that that sustained the no and didn't get overturned. In that Veterans Bill is wrapped up a bill regarding allowing third-party companies to come in and file for disability benefits for service members. Now, it was intentional because it would have set a precedent here in the state of Kansas that would have set a precedent nationwide. There's already ongoing litigation against those companies in 2 states, and it's already banned in California, and Congress is in the process of passing a law banning them. If they try to introduce a bill next year, next session, is there any way that we can prevent that from happening? Because soldiers are getting exploited through their education benefits, and the last thing I want to happen is that these companies come in and prey on those vulnerable soldiers just fighting for benefits they've earned. As you as the Attorney General, if elected, what can you do to protect veterans from those claim shark companies, or so we call them?
Yeah, thank you for that question, and thank you for your service as well. The number one thing that you can do between now and then is vote in common sense candidates that will not allow those bills to make it to a vote. It does sound funny, but that is the number one thing that you can do. Once those bills are enacted, if they're constitutional, then there's really nothing that people can do. However, what is happening and what you've seen are cases across the country where these benefits folks, whatever they call themselves, sharks, are being sued or being litigated. And to the extent that they violate any law in the state of Kansas, would certainly be a part of that. Because healthcare is expensive enough and difficult enough anyway, and we need to make sure that folks have access to it and aren't being taken advantage of. So I would look to the other states to find out what they've done and what their attorneys general have done to make that happen. Yeah.
Well, one question. I know that it actually what they're trying to pass conflicts with what's already federal statute, and also laws that are essentially governed by the VA. Because what they want to do is the claim sharks would come in and charge them up front, but federal statute says they couldn't. So would that be something the Attorney General could address? Yeah,
at that point, if that law passes, then certainly it would not pass muster, and we could take a look at it. But honestly, the role of the Attorney General would be to navigate that before it gets to the floor, before it gets voted on, and give an opinion on the legitimacy, legality, constitutionality of a bill like that. And I think that's where my opponent and I differ. He's always going to have a political bent, a political ideology in his opinions and his process. For me, it's not about Team Red or Team Blue, it's about Team Kansas. Are people working to help Kansas? I'll work with them. Are people trying to hurt Kansas? I'll fight them. It's that simple. That's what this office is. Yes, sir.
Have you read the new statute on student protests? And if you were in the AG office now, what, if anything, could be done with that?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I have not read it, full disclosure. But my understanding is that this pertains to off-campus protests. I have always said that we need to protect First Amendment rights. It doesn't matter your age. You have a right to speak. You have a right to protest. And we should be defending that wherever we can. And I think the authors of the bill want you to believe that there are good intentions, that they don't want kids off campus getting hurt or being off campus without parental knowledge, whatever that is. But to the point that it infringes on their right to protest and to speak, we need to make sure that that doesn't happen. So I am certain that there will be challenges to that law, like there will be a number of others to the constitutionality of it, and we'll see what the courts have to say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So recently, me and my family, friends, community, it's a lot of, there's been a lot of recent attacks legally on LGBTQ people. Senate Bill 244 is probably just the most egregious example of that. And I just want to know what you can do as Attorney General to stop facilitated harassment of queer people. I know I have friends who are out of state who are not wanting to travel here. I've seen people, say that it's even dangerous to travel here just because of what SB 244 allows. The prosecution for just trying to use the bathroom, and it's scaring a lot of people. I'm sure it's stopping a lot of people from traveling here, spending time that their lives would enjoy it. And there's a lot of queer youth as well that they see what their government is doing. The government that's supposed to protect them and look out for them, and it causes a lot of dread and absolutely contributes to the youth suicide that we were talking about earlier. So I'm just wondering what you could do as Attorney General to fight against that or any other attempts to attack queer people.
I'm sorry that that's happening. And I can tell you that, just like you said, government should work for all people, regardless of race, gender, or any other metric. And that's what the Attorney General's office needs to do. It should work for all people. It should protect all people. Fact is, let's take the driver's license bill that's part of that. You know, this was touted by Kobach as something that law enforcement had requested because they were somehow confused by a driver's license. Well, having been in law enforcement, having a friend still in law enforcement, I have never heard from anyone that hasn't been able to serve a warrant or write a ticket because of what's on a driver's license. It simply doesn't happen. So they're using these as culture war issues so that they can push their political agenda without any real purpose. There were only 300 and something driver's licenses out of 9 million. It's just not what the people of Kansas are asking the government to do. And to your point on teen suicide, I'll tell you this story. The last election, it was in 22. I think it may have been in October. I was in Aggieville. I was at a bookstore. I was given a talk like this, and a father came up to me afterwards, and he asked me very similar questions, similar ideas, because it was happening back then. And he said he was asking me because his son was no longer with him. And that story stuck. We should not be attacking anyone, any vulnerable population in the state. It just shouldn't happen. We have to care about all people. Again, that goes for, we got to care about Republicans. We have to care about Democrats. We have to care about all races and genders. That's what government and what these offices are for.
To your point about it not being what people are asking for, or even law enforcement are asking for, I actually spoke with Melissa Rundis, who's the chief prosecutor here. She said she's been talking to like Riley County Police Department here, and it's just like they don't even want to take on 244 related cases because it's just expensive and ridiculous, and they don't even want to prosecute them.
Yeah. No one knows how to enforce it right now. It's a poorly written law that they didn't think through enforcement on that at all.
The fear is still real.
It is. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Just a kind of a general question. What would be like a SMART goal that you would give yourself for your first 6 months in office?
Ooh, there's so much to do.
What's the top 2 or 3
Yeah.
that you want to tackle?
So, what I want to do with this office, the top things. One, I want to make sure that we are reaching our rural communities. When I talk to law enforcement out west, that's where the help is needed. I mean, these guys have a sheriff and maybe 2 deputies and a single prosecutor. They get a big case. They're hurt. They need help. And they're not always getting it because there's KBI offices in Johnson County, but there's not a big office out west of here. So making sure that our staffing actually reflects the need. Making sure that we're showing up for communities that absolutely need our help. So that's priority number 1. Number 2 is consumer fraud. We need to, again, reorganize the office so that the focus is on protecting vulnerable populations from consumer fraud and making sure that we're investigating and prosecuting. That means not only here in the state, but we're going to have to partner with attorneys general and with the federal government because some of these prosecutions extend well beyond our borders. And we're going to have to work with telecom, wireless companies, banks, other organizations to, there's a technological solution to this. You know, my parents need to stop getting the toll road text message because they continue to call me on it. And they haven't driven on a toll road in a couple of years. So there are technological solutions, though, that should be happening, and I'll push those companies to help implement those. So consumer fraud's number 2. And then number 3 is working on fentanyl, making sure that money is poured into communities and not into advertising, making sure that we're actually making a difference with substance abuse, which is where this usually starts, and that we're bringing down those overdose rates. So that's 3. I've got like 20. I could go on the rest of the night. There's so many things that the Attorney General's office can do to help people. It is amazing. So, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I'd encourage you when you're looking at consumer fraud and like looking, not globally, but looking at different states and the federal government, to use that model when you're looking at DCF and investigating child abuse, because there's a lot of interstate movement of individuals, and I think that's where we're missing opportunities to help kids and people that are at risk, because those entities don't communicate with each other. So when you move from Missouri to Kansas, or Iowa to Kansas, and there were big concerns in another state, there's not, Kansas doesn't know about those concerns, and so kids kind of fly under the radar.
Yeah.
And I think that model that you're looking to create for consumer fraud would be applicable in other areas.
Yeah, working with partner agencies to be more efficient. Like here's why it's good to have a guy that's been a cop and a prosecutor in the office instead of a guy that's been a politician. Is I've done that work. I've worked in those fields. I've worked those cases, and I understand, the need to have that communication and the need to work with other agencies. And that's where my focus is going to be. It's not going to be on some political agenda in some other state. I care about the people of Kansas, what I've always done. And that's a prime example. Also, domestic violence. If you look at domestic violence right now, the violence levels have gone up. We lost 4 officers in the past year to domestic violence calls. And what I've seen throughout the state is that shelters are overcrowded and underfunded. We need to work with partner agencies there, make sure the funding is there, make sure women and children can get out of that violent situation so it doesn't continue to escalate. So we'll work to do that as well. There's, like I said, a number of issues that we need to do. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you ran against Kovac 4 years ago.
Yes.
I'm sure you've done a lot of introspection and what else could I do? What are you doing differently in this campaign that will make up those votes and say you'll win?
Yeah, so to put it bluntly, we didn't have enough money to be in the Wichita, Western Kansas media market. And so not enough people knew about me and who I was, and that I was a viable alternative to Kovac. And that's just it. So not only are we making sure that we have enough money to be in those places, but I'm in more of those places. So I put a real emphasis on being on the ground in communities that normally don't see any politicians. I mean, I've been down, I don't know if you've been to Elkhart, Kansas. It's in the mountain. Yeah. I've been all the way down there.
Best swimming pool?
I'm pretty sure I talked to every single person in that town. But it's a wonderful community, and we started down there on a trip, and we came all the way back and visited places big and small throughout there. And having face-to-face interaction with people just makes a difference. When you get to actually ask me questions and see that I don't have horns growing out of my head or something, it changes perception, and then those people can talk to the rest of their community. And I think that's going to make a big difference that way. So getting out there and making sure that folks in those areas that we know we lost have the message. Oh, and if you want some good news, some of you may have heard this, so don't spoil it. But once I entered this race, once I announced I was running, the Democrat Attorney General's Association named our race the top flip opportunity in the entire nation. So there's support in places that I didn't have last time, and that's one.
Could you say something about immigration enforcement and ICE? We've had the controversy around the core civic facility over in Leavenworth. It's not on the front burner these days. Trump's war has pushed immigration enforcement.
Yeah, like the news, man, it just keeps going. We forget about the things that happened before.
But it's not like it's not going on here in Kansas. Do you have some thoughts about that?
Yeah, so I've dealt with this in a way since I started in police work in the late 90s, and especially in prosecution up in Wyandotte County. This is back in 2010. I'm prosecuting cases back then where witnesses and victims don't want to show up to court because they're afraid of their immigration status. And this is before anyone ever talked about what's going on right now. So from a law enforcement perspective, can you imagine the victims that are out there right now that are afraid to come forward to the people that are sworn to protect them? That's unacceptable. And I will make sure that we are protecting all people, because that's the job of law enforcement. That's the job of the top cop in the state, isn't to pick and choose. It is to protect all people, and that's where we have to refocus ourselves. Is there another question over here? Yes.
Maybe 15 years ago, or more, I don't know, but because the Attorney General oversees the KBI, and there was a problem, they claimed they didn't have enough money to process the rape kits.
Yes.
It would come in from all over the state, and there were hundreds of boxes of them in the KBI basement.
Yeah.
And could we get a commitment from you that that will not happen?
That will not happen. No, that's no, I remember that time, and it was awful, and it will not happen under my watch. Yeah. Anybody? Yes.
You mentioned the shortage of legal support for police departments and enforcement entities across the state. I understand that in rural communities there's as big a shortage of lawyers as there is doctors, practitioners. So people who need a lawyer can't get one if they're living in a place like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts about what Kansas can do about that?
Yeah, so there's a committee that was brought together, convened by the Supreme Court to try and work on rural justice. And they've come to some solutions. They're trying to give some benefits to students who will start their careers in those communities, but we have to go further. Whether it's using technology to use Zoom court or whatever it is, I don't have the answer, but I can promise you that I will work to find the answer, because I've seen that. Back to Elkhart, where I was. As we're driving back, we hit another town. I can't remember the name, but when I talked to the law enforcement there used to be 3 attorneys in town. Now there was one, and he tried to retire, but the town wouldn't let him retire. so he's working into his 70s and trying to take on all the cases of this community, and that just can't happen. And we have to have legal help for folks in all these places. So I see the need, and we'll certainly work to address that.
All right, last question, please.
Oh, look what you did. You scared me. Yes, sir.
Your story is about the money that is due the state of Kansas that our Attorney General did not go after.
Yeah.
Of course, that fits with everything else. The federal government, of course, is literally gutting whole departments that would deal with fraud.
Yeah.
So that fraud cannot be dealt with at all. But the question I would have is, at this point in time, would it be possible to go back and get any of that money, or is it too late now?
No, it's always possible to get money that's allocated to us back to us. So unless Congress does something to change that between now and then, that money is still allocated to the state of Kansas, and it's still sitting there. So we can still get it. So I'm going to tell you one more story about cop life before I leave here. So when I was hit by that drunk driver, I'm laying on the ground. It's cold out. It's frosty. And as I lay there, my legs don't move anymore. And the wife or girlfriend, I can't remember which it was, of the driver of the car comes over to me because she's scared because her husband or boyfriend is in the street. My partner is dealing with him or trying to help him. And I remember laying there. I'm holding her hand, and I'm telling her it's going to be okay, and that we're going to be fine, and we're going to get through this, and we're talking about that. And I tell you this because I've never stopped being a public servant. Even in the most painful, scary, difficult time that I had in my life, public service was my number one priority. Making sure that this woman felt safe and was going to be okay until the rest of my colleagues got there. That's the passion and the public service that I will bring to the Attorney General's office. So thank you all for being here.
We have 10 minutes to spare. I'll just say a few reminders, and then if you have questions or want to just chit-chat a little bit, please hang around. So again, we have Little Apple Pride coming up on Saturday, April 25th. We have a recurring email that's going to go out with the volunteer sign-up form link if you want to join us for tabling and marching in the parade. The Little Apple Pride is in the Wheatfold Pavilion at City Park, just to our north across the street. And then our next monthly meeting is on Tuesday, May 12th. The guest speaker is Ann Perelker. She's a candidate for U.S. Senate. We weren't able to reserve the library for that meeting, so we'll be back at Potter Hall in Seco Park on the west side of town. But with that, thank you all so much for coming, and have a great evening.